Welcome to Knowledge is Random. Today we go back further than history to the first tool and the first sign that we were becoming something more. For most of Earth's history, survival meant teeth, claws, speed, and we had none of those. What we had was something else. For years, we thought the story began 2.6 million years ago, but discoveries in Kenya suggest it reaches back even further to 3.3 million years ago in what archaeologists now call the Lomekwian tradition. Long before cities, long before language, before even our own species existed. Someone picked up a stone and struck it against another. And in that moment, the world changed. The site is called Lomekwi 3 in modern-day Kenya. The tools found there are large, heavy, crude stone implements, not delicate blades, not refined edges. But they were shaped deliberately. They show intention. These tools predate the genus Homo, which means something profound. The first toolmaker was not technically human. This pushes toolmaking back before Homo habilis, the so-called handyman. Before him, there were the Australopiths. You've probably heard of Lucy, Australopithecus afarensis. She lived around 3.2 million years ago. She walked upright. She had small canine teeth. Her brain was still relatively small, but evidence now suggests that hominins like her, or close relatives, may have been experimenting with stone long before Homo habilis refined the craft. Toolmaking may not have begun with a larger brain. It may have begun with curiosity, with experimentation, with a moment of problem-solving, a rock in the hand, another rock in the other, strike, and suddenly the edge becomes sharper than any tooth. By around 2.6 million years ago, toolmaking becomes more widespread and refined. This is what we call the Oldowan industry, simple flakes struck from a core, sharp enough to cut meat, to scrape hides, to break bones for marrow. Now we see Homo habilis appear, not the inventor of tools, but the one who systematized them, refined them, made them consistent. This wasn't random smashing anymore, this was technique, and technique means teaching, which means learning, which means culture. The first tool was not just an object, it was knowledge passed on. Then something extraordinary happens. Around 1.7 million years ago, a new style appears, the Herculean hand axe. Teardrop-shaped, carefully flaked on both sides, strikingly symmetrical. Symmetry is not required to cut meat. A jagged rock will do that. Which raises a fascinating question. Why spend the extra time? Why remove more flakes than necessary? Why refine the shape? Because symmetry suggests something else. Planning, motor control, foresight, and possibly display. Some researchers have proposed what's known as the social brain hypothesis, the idea that as hominin social groups became more complex, intelligence was not only useful for survival, but for social competition. In that world, skill could become a signal. A beautifully crafted hand axe may have functioned a little like a peacock's tail, not purely practical, but impressive. Difficult to fake, expensive in terms of time and effort. If you can shape stone with precision, you demonstrate coordination, planning ability, and patience. In evolutionary terms, those are attractive traits. There is even evidence that some Herculean hand axes were far larger than practical use would require, almost ceremonial in scale. Tools that may never have been used to butcher anything. Tools that might instead have said, "Look what I can do." If that is true, then the Herculean hand axe is more than a cutting instrument. It may be one of the earliest known expressions of social intelligence, of reputation, of signaling, perhaps even of attraction. Not just survival of the fittest, but survival of the most impressive. And that changes the story again, because now the first tool is no longer just about food. It is about status, about identity, about being seen. The first tool did something no claw ever could. It separated biology from survival. A lion is born with claws, a human must make theirs. And that changes everything, because if your survival depends on what you can create, then improvement is always possible. Better edge, better grip, better idea. From stone tools came spears. From spears came agriculture. From agriculture came cities. From cities came science. From science came you. All because something 3.3 million years ago struck one stone against another and noticed what happened. The first tool was not just a rock, it was a decision to alter the world, to extend the body beyond its limits, to think ahead. And once that began, it never stopped. This wasn't just the first tool, it was the first technology, and perhaps the first quiet spark of human ambition. Knowledge is random, curiosity is not, and the first tool was curiosity made visible. Before we leave it there, one important thing. Everything you've heard in this episode is based on the best evidence we currently have. But archaeology is not a finished book. It is a conversation. New discoveries are made, old interpretations are challenged, dates are revised, theories evolve. The Lamechquian tools may not be the final answer. The social brain hypothesis may be debated. Even what we call the first can shift with a single new find. That's the beauty of science. It doesn't claim certainty, it refines it. So if this sparked something in you, follow it. Read further, question it. And if you've seen or heard something here that you believe may be incomplete, debated, or even wrong, say so. Conversation is how understanding sharpens. After all, even the first tool was shaped by striking one idea against another. Explore competing ideas. Because knowledge isn't static, it's built layer by layer, just like those first tools. And somewhere out there, buried beneath stone and time, there may still be an earlier beginning waiting to be discovered. Until then, this was the first tool. And this is knowledge, random, evolving, and always unfinished. Thank you for watching this episode of The First, where knowledge is random, but curiosity is not. Join us next time as we explore another beginning.